How to board a plane without losing your mind or your will to live. What's the fastest way to board an airplane? I mean, you can't just throw open the gates and let people rush in like hungry seagulls at a French fry stand. That would be chaos. We're primates after all, so let's use our monkey brains to tackle this logistical nightmare. So what's the official plan? Easy. Board passengers from back to front. Seems logical, right? It's like filling a tube. Start at the back and work your way forward. But here's one of life's cruelest truths. The most obvious and easiest to implement solutions often turn out to be complete garbage. Cough voting systems, cough. So it should shock absolutely no one that back-to-front boarding is not good, and yet most airlines use it anyway. First group walks on, everything is fine, until the first person reaches their row and decides to wrestle their suitcase into the overhead bin like it owes them money. And for the poor soul behind them, what happens? Absolutely nothing. They can see their seat, they can smell their seat, but they cannot reach their seat because they're stuck behind human luggage Tetris-level expert. Meanwhile, everyone in the aisle forms a conga line of frustration, unable to do anything except stare at the back of the person in front of them and contemplate their life choices. Phew! It's not slow people or confused passengers causing delays. It's bags. Bags cause most of the delay. You know the scene. One person standing there, blocking the entire aisle, wrestling their giant suitcase into the overhead bin like they're stuffing a sleeping bag back into its pouch. And what can everyone else do? Absolutely nothing. Just stand there waiting while the seconds of their precious, fleeting lives slip away like sand through an hourglass. Existential crisis intensifies. Now, let's say you weren't just bad at designing boarding procedures, but you were actually a cartoon villain whose goal in life was to maximize human suffering. What would you do? Board the plane front to back. The smaller the boarding group, the better. That way, every single shuffle forward results in a full-stop stow with a line of increasingly irritated humans waiting either inside the plane or out in the boarding area, glaring at the airline staff with pure, unfiltered rage. Does this method sound familiar? It should, because airlines already do this for first-class passengers before letting everyone else trudge on like overworked peasants. Glad you asked. The answer? Money. First-class passengers pay for perks, and boarding first is one of them. Also, airlines love their loyalty points. The more you fly, the higher you go in the boarding hierarchy. Like a very expensive game of airline Monopoly. But here's the kicker. Airlines used to have a faster way to board, and then they got rid of it. You won't believe this, but doing absolutely nothing, just letting people board in whatever order they show up, is actually faster than all these carefully designed boarding groups. Why? Because random boarding naturally spreads people throughout the plane, increasing the chances of passengers stowing bags at the same time instead of forming a single-file bottleneck of doom. But no, airlines decided that we needed organized boarding groups, which ironically make things slower. Man, it's always fun to learn that literally doing nothing would have been the better option. Enter the three-group method. Windows first, then middle seats, then aisles. It's like random boarding, but slightly optimized. Why? Because it eliminates seat shuffling. You'll never have to awkwardly stand in the aisle while someone slides into the window seat, forcing everyone behind you to wait. This sounds like a huge improvement. But when real scientists, not just guys ranting on YouTube, simulate actual boarding speeds, the difference is, turns out seat shuffling isn't the biggest problem. It's still bags. People trying to jam their oversized carry-ons into bins, deciding at the last minute that they actually need something from inside their suitcase, or attempting to board with 3 bags because they're convinced the rules don't apply to them. Okay, so what's the actual fastest way to board a plane? Well, if you remove all human factors and enter a magical world where everyone follows instructions perfectly, here's what you do. Back to front boarding, but in alternating rows and alternating sides. Everyone stands in an exact order before getting on. Maximum pullaways and parallels to optimize efficiency. It would be a beautiful, synchronized ballet of human movement. Perfect, precise, elegant, which is why it will never work. Because in the real world, humans are terrible at following instructions, easily confused by numbers, and likely to riot if they see boarding group 1, 2, 3, and they're not included. Yes, a slightly realistic version of perfection is this. First group, one side of the plane, every other row. Second group, the other side. Third and fourth groups, repeat the pattern. It's not perfect, but it still allows families to board together, airlines to keep their precious boarding groups in a faster turnaround time than current methods. We will never have the perfect boarding method, because as long as humans are involved, there will be confusion, frustration, and that one person who decides to repack their entire suitcase in the middle of the aisle. But maybe, just maybe, we can at least make it a little bit better, and that's probably the best we can hope for. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You now qualify for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Smashing that like button instantly increases your coolness by 327%. Scientifically unproven but spiritually accurate. Subscribing guarantees good vibes and fewer traffic jams in your life. Hitting the notification bell may or may not summon a tiny dancing robot to your home, so go ahead. Click those magical buttons before they get lonely. Otherwise, a mildly disappointed virtual pigeon will be sent to stare at you judgmentally. Thanks for watching. You're awesome.